China basically somehow decided that they will take a side of Russia and will fight with Russia against Ukraine and other countries.
Well, as Keir Starmer prepares or sleeps ahead of his meeting with Xi Jinping, an awkward issue is the support offered by China to Russia in the war in Ukraine, and more widely, it is part of their so-called no-limits partnership. Now, just yesterday, China's defense minister told his Russian counterpart Beijing was willing to increase strategic coordination with Moscow. As one of Kyiv's staunchest allies, will the Prime Minister bring that up, and what will he say when he does? Yulia Sirko is a Ukrainian MP and a member of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China. Yulia, welcome to the programme.
Hello from Kiev. Thank you for hosting me.
And always welcome to the show. I mean, do you, Yulia, have much hope of the Prime Minister Starmer influencing China and somehow, in any way, to any degree, dissuading China from sustaining Russia's effort in Ukraine?
Look, I don't think so, because China is already involved in Ukraine, in Ukrainian-Russian war already for 4 years. So they started, actually, we noticed that China is helping Russia with the satellite data back on 2022, when all Chinese drones produced in China actually somehow were influenced by China intelligence. So we observe it in a small amounts and then growing amounts in later years. So I think we are absolutely sure that China is a big brother of Russia and helping Russia all the time with a satellite, with spare parts, with money, with actually they are feeding the war of Russia war in Ukraine, and I'm absolutely sure that without this help, Russia already finished the war, because they don't have capacity to produce, they don't have access to the market, and they don't have technologies, satellite data, etc., etc. So China basically somehow decided that they will take a side of Russia and will fight with Russia against Ukraine and other countries.
Tell me, Yulia, do you have a sense of just how materially important China's support is when it comes to things like drone production for use by Russian forces and the raw materials that it supplies for the war effort, and also intelligence? There are US intelligence reports, aren't there, which talk about China making a significant contribution on the battlefield when it comes to intelligence for targeting and so on.
Yes, you cannot unfortunately calculate the numbers. Why? Because I think a lot of help coming from China to Russia, so to say, by shadow supplies. So you cannot calculate it, but definitely it's. I think it's 10 billion of every year, $10 billion every year by drones, by common production, by people who are working on the for Russian economy, as well as satellite data and many other intelligence information, etc., etc. So I think it's not just a small help, a one-time help. I think it's a regular help on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, and you can track something. But definitely you cannot track everything, because, I mean, they have borders, they can come by train, they supply by train, by planes, by different means.
You would have seen, Yulia, the reporting. It's in the Financial Times. It's there in the Times, that after that enormous show of support that we had a couple of weeks ago between European leaders and the American negotiating team, a show of support, and now we read that America's position is to force territorial concessions out of Ukraine as part of a ceasefire deal. Now, the White House, the administration in Washington, is denying those reports, but listening to you now, you believe them.
Yes, I do believe them, because I think U.S. does not understand fully the importance of the Donbas part, non-occupied, controlled by Ukrainian forces. Why? Because this is not only part of a land or a part of the economy. It's a strategic military land, which without this land and without this fortification we have on this land, Russia will easily invade to other regions of Ukraine, like Dnipropetrovsk, etc., Kharkiv, etc. So it's not about the land. it's a place, a very convenient military place for Russia to start next invasion into other regions. Basically, it's like a preparation land for the next invasion. So I don't think this is possible legally, military, or any kind of by any possibilities to concession of this land, because I mean this is a betrayal. First of all, it's a betrayal of our own army. They are protecting it, not to give Russia opportunity to invade further into other regions of Ukraine.
Right. So Russia has been making this demand from the very beginning. They want that the whole of the Donbass. They want territory they haven't conquered. That territory includes strategically very important land, the so-called fortress belt of
Yes.
cities that could be very valuable to Russia for a further attack. All of those things have been very, very clear. And now we see that the United States reportedly is on Russia's side of this argument. Now, if all of that is true, Yulia, what on earth is the point of negotiations? The talks are going to be taking place between Ukrainian and Russian teams in the United Arab Emirates at the weekend. What on earth is the point of those talks?
I think the talks is always good, because the negotiations, I think negotiations should continue. Maybe at some point of time when Russia understand that they don't have a lot of, they don't have victory in this war, and they will not have it because basically they took less than 1% by killing 1 million Russians. In this war, I don't think that you can sell this victory to Russian people. But talks should continue, and maybe at some point of time, sides will arrive somewhere, because I think it's of interest, first of all, for Russia to stop the war, because they are drenaging a lot of resources into this war, and they cannot afford this to finance this war, I think, anymore. So they are taking all resources out of the economy and putting it into the absolutely stupid war, where they took only 1% of burnt territory, basically.
Yeah.
I think at some point of time they will realize it, or maybe they change elite. And elites, and this new elite will realize that there is no sense of this war.
Right. And when you are, just lastly, when you're considering President Trump's deepest sympathies, I wonder if you've seen the reporting of the photo on the White House wall, framed photo of President Trump standing side by side in thorough comradeship with Vladimir Putin of Russia. The photo sits, by the way, above the picture of President Trump with his own grandchild. What do you think of that?
I think this is the sentiment of the world political elite. The same, they grew in the same century. They was born in the same century. They probably understood each other more than with a young generation of politicians. That's why they have sentiment to each other. You can see few of these leaders around the world, between 65 and up. And they are really, they knew each other for many years. They understand each other. So, I mean, it's like some kind of, closed world elite, the same age. So probably this is the sentiment they have to each other, because they represent more or less the same generation. And I hope this generation at some point of time will pass the power to a new generation, younger one.